The Analogue Pocket finally released this week after many delays, and there was no shortage of reviews on YouTube, giving everybody an opportunity to see what the Analogue Pocket was like. But honestly, I really don't think it's for me, and here's why. If you love everything in the world of gaming from modern to retro and you have a particular soft spot for handheld gaming, then you're in the right place. Because here on the Chronic Spartan Show, we love everything about the world of gaming and we have a particular soft spot for handheld gaming too. If that sounds like your kind of thing, then hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you do not miss out on future content. Now, first things first, I'm not one of the lucky ones to get my hands on an Analogue Pocket. I would have loved to, but I guess I'm just not at that level yet. But like many of you out there, I was really excited to see what the Analogue Pocket was like. It's been a very interesting and intriguing project to follow over the past couple of years. For me, any new handheld that's come out, I'm always really excited about. And the Analogue Pocket looks to be doing something different to most other handhelds out there. Anybody who follows the channel knows that I enjoy retro emulation handheld systems. Now I do know that emulation has its downfalls, but for me it's a perfect way to enjoy retro video games on the go. But the Analogue Pocket does things differently. Now I'm not going to go into great detail about everything about the Analogue Pocket because there's some fantastic reviews out there, and two of my favourites are the reviews by Metal Jesus and Bob Wolf from Wolf Den. Those two videos go into great depth on the Analogue Pocket, and thanks to them I feel like I've got a really good understanding of the Analogue Pocket and if it's something for me. So this video is purely going to be approached from the perspective of a potential buyer, a potential consumer, somebody who would see this product and think, is this something I'd want to buy? If you want to get first hands-on impression, then you need to go and check out those reviews. But I'm here to tell you that even without getting my hands on it, it doesn't look like a console for me. Now first things first, there's some fantastic stuff about the Analogue Pocket. It uses FPGA technology instead of emulation. It's not an emulator. It's basically as close to playing your handheld games as you would be on an original console. Analogue Pocket are approaching this from the mindset of, this is the modern way of playing your favorite retro handheld games and staying as true to them as you could possibly be. And to do that, it comes with a fantastic screen as well. The screen on the Analogue Pocket is truly one of the highlights of the system, and any review you would check out would show you how amazing the screen is. Now let's make that clear, this screen is fantastic, there is no doubt about that. However, simply being the best, simply being an amazing screen doesn't actually make it the right screen, and for me it doesn't make it the right screen. And the reason I say that is because earlier in the year I did a 30-day Game Boy challenge and I picked up my Game Boy and played it purely only the Game Boy for 30 days, no other consoles. And there's something that really struck me when I did that. I've been enjoying retro emulation for quite a while now, and it's been a couple of years since I've actually picked up my Game Boy and truly played it for any long period of time. When I sat down over those 30 days, something I noticed. The way the games looked on the Game Boy screen was just unrivaled, absolutely unrivaled. Maybe it's the nostalgia speaking, maybe it's the depth of the screen itself in the way that it's the LCD, so you have that kind of extra layer of it. I don't know what it is, but there was something about the Game Boy screen, the pure original Game Boy screen, playing the games on there, seeing those pixels, and it just feeling right. It taken me back home, taking me back to that place of pure enjoyment. Now I'm not going to say the Game Boy screen is better than the Analogue Pocket screen, but what I will say is, if I'm playing a Game Boy game, I will always pick to play on an original Game Boy screen. And this is the thing for me, right? If we're going to stay as close to as original as possible, then why would I just not pick up my original Game Boy and do that? Now, I do understand there's a few reasons behind that. There's a lot of benefits, a lot of extras you get with the Analogue Pocket that are much more in line with modern gaming. The ability to charge the system, the ability to put the system in sleep mode, and also, like we said, a much better screen. However, if we're talking about wanting to be as close to original as possible, it's really quite easy to get an original Game Boy. And it's not that difficult to get one modded so then the screen is improved, because we all know, okay, the original Game Boy didn't have a backlit screen, and no matter how much you love the screen, you can't play it in a dark room, and that's a massive issue. But modding a Game Boy these days, or buying a modded Game Boy, is not that difficult at all, and you can have a backlit screen which looks absolutely gorgeous. But the screen isn't the only thing. Another thing I noticed, and I noticed this specifically in Bob Wolf's video on Wolf Den, and it was something that originally when I saw the design of the Analogue Pocket, I wasn't sure about. I kind of questioned it, but I couldn't be certain. But my worries were confirmed when I watched Bob Wolf's review. And that is, the cartridges seem to sit so shallow in the Analogue Pocket that it didn't seem like it was really that secure. It was going to be that secure. And in Wolfden's video, in Bob Wool's video, he did this little test where he had Tetris in there. He tapped the Tetris cartridge, and that slight movement dislodged the cartridge a little bit, and the game froze. Now, I didn't think it would be that big a deal. I thought obviously it's been designed in a way that it would be able to hold the cartridges quite securely, but for that to be a highlighting factor in the Wolfden review, it shows that it is really kind of an issue. Now, I don't understand why the cartridge slot depth couldn't have been as deep as a Game Boy Advance is. I mean, the Game Boy Advance took Game Boy Advance games, Game Boy Color games, and Game Boy games, so those cartridge slots can be created quite easily. And although it might go down to form factor or style or aesthetics, I really don't understand why they went for that design factor when it seems to genuinely be a potential hindrance on your gameplay and experience. The last thing you want to do is to be playing through Pokemon and losing your game save because you accidentally knocked your cartridge. Now, I think I'd forgive the cartridge slot design a little bit more if it was designed that way to enable you to use as many cartridges as possible beyond the Nintendo ecosystem into the Sega handhelds and beyond. And the Analogue Pocket does support handhelds that go beyond the Nintendo ecosystem. It supports the Game Gear, Neo Geo Pockets, and a load of other ones as well. And this, for me, this is the real highlight of the Analogue Pocket, and this is where it could really be a gem of a handheld console and really be worth its money. Because, okay, picking up a Game Boy is pretty cheap these days. Picking up a Game Gear is a bit more expensive, and if you go for some more obscure handhelds that this system can support, then you could be spending a lot of money trying to get a nice working condition piece of hardware for one of these retro handhelds. But the fact of the matter is, to support those cartridges, to support these other cartridges beyond the Nintendo ecosystem, you need to buy these extra cartridge slots to fit in, or basically adapters, which enable you to then plug your games in. And what you end up having, for example, with the Game Gear, is you have the cartridge sticking out much higher than the actual Analogue Pocket itself. It doesn't look that great, it doesn't look that comfortable, it doesn't look that sleek when you think of how sleek the Analogue Pocket actually is. And beyond that, it's the extra cost of having to buy all these extra adapters. At the end of the day, the purpose of having something more modern, the purpose of having a replacement for an original retro handheld, partly is because these things can cost a lot of money. But if you're spending a lot of money to replace that, it kind of begs the question, why am I even bothering? Furthermore, a handheld console should be in as fewer parts as possible. And what do I mean by that? You want to carry around as fewer components as possible. That's why I love my retro emulation handhelds. I don't even have to carry cartridges around. I can have all my games loaded on the SD card or on the onboard memory. It is literally one item, you stick it in your pocket, you're good to go. The Analogue Pocket, on the other hand, okay, it's amazing that it runs original cartridges, but you have to carry those cartridges around with you. And these cartridges are not small. I mean, it's not like you're carrying around Switch cartridges. And with the conveniences of modern gaming, that's a bit of a hindrance. Beyond that, if you want to be taking your Game Gear and Neo Geo handheld cartridges as well, then you're going to have to bring your adapters along as well. And before you know it, you're going to have to be carrying around a bum bag full of all these components just to be able to play your retro games on the go. Which in some respects kind of defeats the whole purpose of this being a handheld console. Now, there are many other things that the Analogue Pocket does that seem really interesting. The fact that it can dock, you can play the games on your home console as well, a little bit like the Switch docks. And also it's got other software involved as well. It's got a music app, but more interestingly to me, it also gives you the ability to develop Game Boy games. Now, those are the areas that are really interesting me about the Analogue Pocket. However, right now, as it stands, for the cost of the Analogue Pocket and for how difficult these are to get, unfortunately, as much as I love handheld gaming and as much as I love all new handheld consoles that come out and I really want to support them, the Analogue Pocket just stretches it a little bit too far for me. Now, like I said at the beginning of the episode, I've not gotten my hands on an Analogue Pocket, and when I do, I might change my mind. I might see that screen and I might suddenly think, wow, this truly is the best way to experience Game Boy games. But when there's so many other options out there, when I can just take along my retro emulation handheld, and yes, I know there's issues of slight lag with emulation, it's not perfect, there's a bit of screen stretching, but the benefits I get from being able to carry around a retro emulation handheld compared to the downsides, for me, greatly outweigh it. And with some of the newer retro emulation handhelds that are coming out, they're starting to understand the importance of the aspect ratio of the screen, or the ability to control that. But what are your thoughts? What do you think of the Analogue Pocket? I know very few people out there have gotten their hands on one, and I don't normally like to discuss something I haven't gotten my hands on, but I thought I'd approach this from the perspective of a potential buyer, a potential consumer of these products, and how it seems from the other side before I get my hands on it. Because let's be honest, a lot of the time that's the position that we're in. We want to buy something. You know, when the PlayStation 5 was coming up, I'd never got my hands on one, but I knew I wanted to get one. If you think the Analogue Pocket is awesome, let me know in the comments below. And if you are one of the lucky ones to get your hands on it, then let me know, does that screen truly compare to the original rawness of a DMG Game Boy? Once again, thank you for watching, and see you next time.